Okay, so my name is Alexander Thomas, and I am doing my project for annotations on Shooting an Elephant by George Orwell. So I actually read How a Nation is Exploited and annotated that first. That's actually over here, and I noticed our settings were actually the same. So I am wondering if this is going to be a theme or if we're working up to a bigger project here, since the settings are the same and they're both seem to be critical of British capitalism and imperialism. So that's the first thing I noticed. And then actually Burma, I had to look up where that country was. I had no idea where it was. I had heard of it before, but I never had a reason to actually know where it is until now. So actually if we look here, here is the tab where I looked it up. There we go, right under China there. I didn't know they shared a border with China. So, the other thing, so the first thing I noticed, was actually my third time reading this when I annotated this. I never like to annotate something I haven't read before. It kind of ruins it for me. So I just wanted to get the feel for the text. So I actually read this through twice before I even annotated it, just to get a good feel about it. First thing I noticed here is that the author feels that the main character is hated because he is European. And one thing I just would like to point out is that he's a police officer, and police officers generally are not well liked wherever you go, depending on the country, but generally they're not viewed in the best light no matter what country you go to. But the author attributes that, or not the author, rather the main character attributes the fact that he is hated is because he is European, not because he's a police officer, which I thought was an interesting distinction for George Orwell to make. Uh, Again, the main character complains that he's hassled by the locals in much the same way regular police officers are, but he feels that he's hassled because of his presence there is due to imperialism from the British rather than the fact that he's a police officer. Um, and then again, the main character here decided that the reason that his job is perplexing is because of imperialism, even though being a police officer in general is perplexing. Let's see here. And then I generally do a lot of extra annotations on the first page just because I'm getting a feel for it, for everything. And then again, the main character feels guilty. However, he has taken no remorseful action to improve his situation. So he knows he's working for a imperialistic colony, essentially, and he knows that he's not well liked. However, he has just decided that this is how his life is, and when the chance offers itself, he will get out. But it doesn't seem like he wants to make any moves to get him out of the situation that he currently is. And then down here, he mentions that he took his Winchester rifle. So that means that he's not generally armed, and I forget this, living in America, all of our police officers are armed, but generally European police officers are not armed unless they're in a special unit. And then I've heard of this weapon before, but I got curious because I never actually noticed what it looked like. So again, we'll go up here, and I looked it up. Here it is, and actually it turns out my grandfather owns one of these, so I have actually held one of these. Definitely not as old as the setting in this story, but he does actually own one. And then let's speed it up here. The main character mentions he works with Indian constables. However, the way he refers to them here, it's clear that Indian constables are lower than European ones. So there is an ethnic hierarchy that seems to take play in just how things work in this country. Um, and then right here, the George Orwell is describing the dead body that's found, and he does an excellent job of just transferring what it feels like to have seen something like that to the reader. He does an excellent job in this, and he does it again when describing how the elephant dies. We'll get to that in a second here. Um, he also here he mentions, and I'll paraphrase here or para-read, as I started forward, practically the whole population of the quarter flocked out of houses and followed me, which just tells me that if they're able to do that, he's working in a place with a very small population. And then also here, as soon as I saw the elephant, I knew with perfect certainty that I ought not to shoot him. That's also worded badly. I don't know if that's worded just because of the time this was written in that way, or just because George Orwell is trying to convey to the reader this is how a person during this time would communicate or say things. But if the title weren't shooting an elephant, if there is no title at all, this sentence right here tells me the end of the story is going to be he shoots the elephant. And then, let's see here. This page I did not have a lot to say about. Although he does say main character has correctly identified the flaws that he has in the role of the Empire here, however, appears to lack the mental fortitude to change his role. And I mentioned that on the first page too. It doesn't seem like he wants to make any particular effort to get himself out of this, or he feels trapped working for this regime and having the role that he does in it. So the author again does an excellent job transferring the horror and feelings associated with the death of killing this animal. So I can actually personally relate, and I'll end it off like this, is that I shot a pigeon when I was younger with a gas BB gun because my friend pressured me. And the feeling that I got, I never shot something alive again after that. That was my first and last time. But reading this actually brought me back to that, and this is how he describes the death of the animal. Everything he says on this last page is exactly how I felt when I shot that pigeon. So the author really does do a great job of describing the feeling of killing this animal. So that's all I have. I went a little long there. I know. I'm sorry, and hopefully that's what you were looking for. Thank you.